I'm John Connolly, Manager of Video Programming for Ascension 21. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Inside Ascension, a show designed to give you a look at the people and services of Ascension Parish government.
And I'm Clint Falcon, Video Production Specialist and Producer for Ascension 21. Memorial Day is May 28th, and in this episode we remember the men and women who died in military service for our country and honor their sacrifice with an oral history from two Ascension Parish military veterans.
And later in the show, Ascension Parish has developed a plan to keep pollutants from contaminating our bayous and lakes. We'll introduce you to the stormwater management team. They'll tell us what we can all do to help keep our waterways clean.
And we'll close the show with a little lagniappe from our archives. You'll want to stay tuned for a bluesy dose of Larry Neal.
All that and more is right now inside Ascension.
Let's take a look inside Ascension. Parish President Tommy Martinez introduced plans to improve Ascension Parish's transportation infrastructure at a recent Transportation Committee meeting in Gonzales. The plan would be funded by multiple sources. The Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development would improve a number of state roads and then turn them over to the parish along with the funds to maintain them. And a proposed half-cent sales tax collected in the unincorporated parts of the parish would be spent on road improvements in those areas. Together, the funding would reach approximately $140 million. President Martinez proposed a timeline which includes public input meetings and informational presentations in an effort to get the proposal on the November 6th ballot.
Basically, what we want to do is dedicate that half cents to specific projects that we're looking at, so the money will all be sure to be spent on the projects that the people vote on.
Hurricane season is fast approaching. The Ascension Parish Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness encourages all residents to take time now to prepare for what the season may bring. OEP says we should be cleaning storm gutters and drains, repairing or replacing damaged storm shutters, checking your property insurance policy for appropriate coverage, storing emergency supplies, flashlights with extra batteries, drinking water, and essential medications, and finalizing evacuation plans now should the need arise later.
We try to stress through our public outreach program is personal responsibility for public safety. Ensure that your house is prepped, ensure that you have a family care plan, ensure that you have enough provisions in your home for 3 to 5 days. It takes us that long to establish all the logistics systems for pods, for torch, water, MREs. The consequences of not preparing is a family that's under duress or in some type of situation that we have to respond to in the middle of a hurricane that we can't get to them right away. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So get a game plan and be prepared.
Get ready, Ascension. This summer, hot air balloons will be dotting our skies. The Louisiana Ballooning Foundation and Ascension Parish has reached an agreement that brings the 2012 Hot Air Balloon Festival to the Lamar-Dixon Expo Center in Gonzales. August 4th and 5th, you'll see all those balloons lighting up our skies, and the festival will feature balloon liftoffs, balloon glows, fireworks, parachute jumps, a children's area, music, food, and drink. Free parking and free admission. Ascension 21 will bring you more details about the festival as they become available, so make us your home for the latest updates and news on Ascension Parish becoming the new home for this grand event. Water is a precious resource. Making sure it's clean for everyone is everyone's business. John Connolly is up next with the stormwater management team and how we can all do our part to keep pollutants from winding up in our bayous and lakes. Stay with us.
find the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
In order to improve water quality, comply with the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality's Pollutant Discharge Elimination System and the Clean Water Act, Ascension Parish has developed a stormwater management program plan. When stormwater does not soak into the ground, it usually runs off properties and into storm drains and ditches. When that happens, the runoff can pick up sediments, pollutants, and other materials, even litter, and carry all of that directly into bayous, lakes, and coastal waters, seriously harming water quality. To minimize that toxic runoff, the Ascension Parish Stormwater Management Division was formed.
What's supposed to go in the storm drain is rainwater. What's not supposed to go in the storm drain is anything the rainwater's carrying that you don't want to have to take out of it.
Mark Tesson is the Ascension Parish Stormwater Program Manager.
Because if it goes in the storm drain, if you pour a crawfish boil in the storm drain, which everybody has probably, it eventually goes down the pipes. The storm drain just leads to probably that pond right there, that little catch basin. So what's it going to do? I mean, now you're going to turn a catch basin that's supposed to only be holding really water and a little soil. Eventually starts to fill up, and then what? Now who's going to maintain it? Who's going to clean it up?
Keeping the runoff clean from the start is the goal. The Stormwater Management Division coordinates with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, and other agencies to manage stormwater runoff. The Stormwater Management Plan includes detection and elimination of illicit discharges, pollution prevention and good housekeeping for municipal operations, construction site runoff control, stormwater management in new development and redevelopment, public education and outreach on stormwater impacts, and public involvement and participation.
This is hay bales in front of the storm drain, which should be gutted instead of hay bale.
Runoff at this site has caused sediment so thick these hay bales cannot be removed without difficulty.
Should be gutted, but hay bales is better than nothing.
Stormwater Supervisor Robert Thomas routinely conducts inspections to make sure developers are complying with stormwater regulations. Gutter buddies are designed to catch debris and keep out what shouldn't go into the storm drains. Here, the gutter buddy and hay bales both have been put down to minimize pollutants from entering the storm drain. Silt fences are another way of keeping debris from construction sites from washing into the street and into drains.
Yeah, it's 6 feet in the ground, 6 inches in the ground, and dirt packed on it on the other side. Got a dirt packed on the other side. So I mean, once the water run, it can't go up underneath.
Here's a good example of what a silt fence should do. The gutter is clean and free of debris, but at a nearby construction site,
We got dirt in the drain, trash up here we shouldn't have, pile of trash there we shouldn't have, concrete, the concrete should have been disposed of a little better place.
the stormwater team knows the nature of construction sites. There's a lot going on at the same time with different contractors and subcontractors. Minimizing the mess is key.
We're here to start this first breakfast where the different members of the Ascension Parish Departments will give a short speech to tell you what we're doing, what's new, what's coming forward, and where is Ascension maybe going in the near future.
In keeping with the education and outreach mission, the stormwater team, along with the Capital Region Builders Association, recently held a builders breakfast, an event where representatives from several other parish departments, planning and permits, drainage, and engineering, all made themselves available. So contractors and builders, anyone with questions, could go and get answers to just about anything to do with the development process in Ascension Parish.
Apparently there's a great deal of runoff and off from not only residential, commercial construction, and things like that.
And as public involvement and participation go, last summer, Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts marked 400 storm drains in Prairieville subdivisions with medallions which read, "No dumping, only rain in the drain," reminding residents of the clean water effort we all should adhere to. These Boy Scouts in Gonzales did a similar project as well. These are just examples of how residents of all ages can get involved in the effort to keep pollutants out of our waterways.
Not only is it the soils, but the chemicals and the solids and everything else, because it's going to go right there. Most of these storm drains just feed right there. So, depending on the subdivision, or it's going to go into a parish ditch, and then
leads to
eventually another parish ditch.
Which may lead to a river.
Well, eventually they lead to there's a half a dozen bodies of water in the parish, which eventually make their way either Pontchartrain or one of the lakes. It all runs downhill, and with the way the heat and all during the sun, if we got a high flow of water, of course things can flush out and things move and everything's good. But as soon as summer comes, or actually late spring, summer, things slow down. Everybody knows everything, the water sits, so you have very low flow, so, it's easy for things to stagnate, and that's what happens to a lot of these little ponds. They'll be fine now, but as soon as you start getting a lot of organics in them, a lot of leaves, a lot of other stuff, come summer, that stuff, when it rots, it sucks the oxygen out. If there's anything in there, it can become very, very, if there were any small fish and such in there, it tucks all the oxygen out. Now you gotta.
They're dead and floating and rotting.
They're right. They have. You can have your whatever. Nothing can survive it. We should be able to prevent more fish kills.
Okay.
Which will be thinking further down the line, because people looking at these ponds as it's just water, but not really. It's not just water. It's going to be like a little basin, and it can have its own little wildlife in it. And if done right, I think it's a real nice thing, for kids and everything else to go out there and can play, and they don't have to worry about stuff. And it's just a little pond, nice little pond. Hey, that's great. So we got to keep the pond clean, I guess is what we're saying.
Okay.
I mean, the parish can do something, but if let's face it, the people who are living here don't take care of it, it's not going to be very good. Well, they've bought these houses, they're going to take care of them. They're going to improve them. That's what everybody does. They're going to plant trees, they're going to improve things, and the parish will be there, as much as we can to help them, and to do that. So, it's that. Understanding that they have an investment in it. They truly do, and it's just sort of hard to balance the fact that you got this sort of a little urban technology investment, because you want the benefits of that. You want the benefits of plumbing and everything else, and yet you want the benefits of sort of a rural landscape. So that's sort of a balance.
The Ascension Parish Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan can be found online at ascensionparish.net. Click on Departments, then scroll down to Stormwater. The Stormwater Division is located at 42077 Church Point Road, next to the Department of Public Works building. You can reach them at 621-5730.
In 1990, in Severn, Maryland, the daughter of a clergyman was discovered by a music industry insider while pumping gas at a service station. The odds of her getting signed and spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of this former church choir singer going on to sell 40 million records? 1 in 15 million. The odds of the same woman winning 6 Grammy Awards and starring in 2 Broadway plays? 1 in 75 million. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
It's during this time of year we remember our brave men and women of the armed forces who sacrificed everything for this country. And while we may never forget what those soldiers had to give in order to protect our way of life, it is also important to learn about what it means to take on this duty on our behalf. That is why we wanted to listen to two veterans, both who served overseas in the Vietnam War, as they share their stories of sacrifice, so that we may better understand what most of us will never have to experience.
Rich Jandura. I served with the 3rd Brigade of the 101st in Vietnam, in the 5th Army in the United States, in the stateside. I'm from the era they still had the drafts, and I wanted to join. My draft notice came down. I went down. No holds barred, just went down and said, all right, let's go. There was no qualms about going. Most of the people who were in my group were veterans that were EAs, and they signed up for the hitches they were in. There was a few of us that were USs, which is a draftee. But when you call, you go where you do. But everybody was involved. It wasn't just the people over in Vietnam. Everybody was involved in it. If you wore a uniform, you're a brother or sister of the cause. It doesn't matter what branch of service you served in. Could have been the Army, could have been the Navy, could have been the Coast Guard. They all served, they all served proudly. I really didn't see any resentment of military service by anyone I dealt with in the service. I dealt with quite a few different branches of service when I was in it. I did a lot of work with the Air Force and in the Marines and the Navy. But everybody was comfortable. It was a brotherhood. Everybody got along. There wasn't any problems. I never had any problems. But you get to be a brother or sister with the people there. You get close to these people, closer to your comrades than anybody in your life. These are the people that you get up in the morning with, you work all day with, you go out on guard duty together. He watches your back, you watch his back. You know, you could take you could go to sleep, and if he's awake, you ain't got no worries or problems. You get closer to these people than you get to your own family. You might be married, you go to work 8 hours, come home, talk to your wife. But when you're in your service, they're like a Siamese twin. You know, they get up, and you tell if they got a bad day or they're not feeling good. And there's a commitment to each other it's unknown unless you experience it. It's an experience, it's something that you have to do. There's many instances that we didn't like to do what we were going on. You know, get ready, you're going out. You might have a bad day or something. You know, you might have a hangover. But you're asked or told in the sacrifice, you go out. You might go out, you might not come back for a week. And you put out. Sacrifice, you're living without your family. I was married at the time I was in Vietnam. I left my family, I left my wife. It's a sacrifice. It was a little different at the time we were in Vietnam than it is now. You didn't have the communications like you have now. A letter from home was a big thing. A phone call was almost non-existent. The only time there ever was a phone call if it was a emergency and the Red Cross got a hold of you, and that usually meant a family member either died or got killed or in an accident. So you sacrifice all this and you're living there away from everybody. And like you say, you're alone, but you're not alone. You look forward to mail call. It sounds a little bit funny, you know, but people did write letters, you know. There might be tapes. Guys would get tapes and they'd listen to the tape almost till they wore it out. They'd share a little goodie bag from home. It might contain, you know, some cookies or beef jerky or something like that, or candy, you know. You'd share it. Everybody shared. And everybody knew everybody. The fellows I was with, they knew my wife's name, what she looked like. I knew their wife. I knew their kids, you know. And you get very close to these people. When I came home, I flew into Chicago, middle of winter, colder than heck, and I was greeted by my wife, my brother-in-law. That's all I seen. So when we got some veterans coming home now, do your best to welcome them home. and just make them feel welcome. They're not outsiders. They're one of you. They're one of you that the government asked them to do their part, and they're doing it. They had a lot of times you ask how's Vietnam was, how was it? What'd you do there? You have a majority of people think everybody was like Rambo. He did this, he did that. It really was. Some of it may have been, but the majority it hasn't. And the way I explain my tour of Vietnam, I try to say it was some of the best times of my life and some of the worst times of my life. It's the extremes. It's the extremes where you don't think it could get any lower than it is. You get the experience when somebody's shooting at you. That's an experience you don't forget. And also there's good times. One of the good times was we had a pilot that was shot down. He was out in the bush for about 4 days. We were on the flight pad having a little memorial service for this lieutenant. He was the first lieutenant at the time. And they found him. And they picked him up. And they flew him in on his memorial service. And it's like the birth of your own child. It's something you'll never forget. Here's a man that everybody thought was dead. We're honoring him. And all of a sudden he comes flying in. He was injured. He had a couple broken legs and broken jaw, but he was still alive. And to see his face as being one of the most thankful individuals I ever seen in my life, that's something I'll always remember the rest of my life. So that's what I say, some of the best times of my life and some of the worst times of my life. That's what I'd say my tour in Vietnam was like. Everyone is a brother. Doesn't matter what kind of uniform he wears or what branch of service he was in, he's a brother or he's a sister. And there's a loyalty. And even in the everyday world, I worked in the refineries around the area. And when we would hire people or contractors would come in, you could pick out an individual that was a veteran just by the way he worked. His work ethic, it's a brotherhood. It's an unknown brotherhood. I know right now if I got a problem and there's a veteran behind me, I don't have to look behind my back. I know he's got my back. So there's quite of a brotherhood with veterans. And we're getting older. We're getting older groups of people. The World War II veterans are dying off. The Korean veterans are dying off. I hate to say it, a lot of the Vietnam veterans are dying off now. So you got another class of veterans coming up. And I hope they do well. All I can do is hope the best for all of them.
My name is David Grenfell. I'm a graduate from 1962 at Struma High School. I went to Vietnam 1963 to 67 in the Marine Corps. Well, I can really say about the Marine Corps, I enjoyed it. I got to travel all over to Southeast Asia with the Marine Corps. And I got seen a lot of places where I wouldn't have seen in my life before, and see how other people live and their atmosphere. I really enjoyed it, and you had your hard times and you had your best times with them. So once a Marine, always a Marine, they say in the Marine Corps. When you go into the boot camp situation in the Marine Corps, you go 13 weeks there, then you go like 5 or 6 weeks at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. You go back there, it's a lot of training there and everything else, and then they evaluate what your MOS is going to be. When I'm saying MOS is what your job classification is going to be. So as I was coming up as a young kid, you hear about California. I wanted to go to California. My MOS, I could have been a lot of other things in the Marine Corps, but for me to go to California, I had to go over there as a 0311, which is called a rifleman. And that's where I went, 03 Rifleman. I went to the 2nd Battalion and 5th Marines in the Marine Corps after I got out of that little 5 or 6 week training at Camp Lejeune. I wanted to see California. I'd never been to California as a young kid. I was a country boy, and I wanted to see California. That's why I went over there. We was one of the first ones that went over there in 1965 in Vietnam. And my battalion of the Marine Corps, we was more or less on a helicopter ship, and just strictly helicopters. And we'd go in there as different operations and all like that. And they started sending troops over there and landing them. But the type I was on, it was like more like special operations. We'd go in there and just have things. And that went on for a good little while. Then we come back, and one of the operations we went on, it was called Harvest Moon. I can remember that. I got some write-ups about it at home. And we lost about 2 companies out of that. A lot of wounded, a lot of killed in that time. And our battalion, then when we pulled back, and we didn't have a full, what they call a TO battalion, so they sent us to the regimental. And after that, we started going out on, they started sending us out what they call combined action companies. And I was a E4 then, and I was sent out on a certain little company. You go live in a village with the people. That's what it was all about. And you protect the village chief. Because the Viet Cong was coming in there and intimidating them and trying to kill the village chief. And our job was to protect the village chief. And I did that most of my tour in Vietnam. And we'd run patrols out of there and everything. And we had some experience in there and all like that. But I received the Purple Heart. I was on an operation off the battleship and went on a big mission. They landed us in the wrong place to begin with. And we were pinned down pretty good bit. And then the Marine Corps, you never leave your dead or wounded behind. You always come back and pick them up. And we had a lot of them that day was wounded. Now we tried to advance forward, and I got wounded that day too. I lost a good friends of mine too on that day. And then on that Vietnam Memorial War, that too. But other than that, that was my experience. You know, I had a fellow from that joined the Marine Corps back then. He was from Chicago. His name was Al McGuire. He went to boot camp together. He was a hoodlum in Chicago. Back then, either you join the service or you go to jail. So he joined the service. And we became good friends. And he's one of my good friends that got killed for me. And he was a big patriotic of the flag too. And like anywhere else you go, you look around here in Gonzales and all, a lot of people put up the American flags, you know, and a lot of people don't. I was one of the early ones that come back Vietnam. My tour was 1965 to 66. And we landed in California that night when I came back. We didn't have we didn't have no demonstrators or nothing there. And I took a 3rd-day leave to come home. My family greeted me now. And I think things started happening later on in that time period where they started disloyal to the troops and all that this stuff. And then, you know, they started spitting on them and all like that. I didn't have that, you know. I was the early one that went over there and the early one to come back. And we try right now. We're not trying. We are supporting all our veterans come back right now.
in.
G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me back. Hey, did you tell your parents about us? Let's skip first period together. Did you get all my texts? Is practice over yet? Where are you at? Are you with your friends? That's L-A-A-A-A-M-M-E-E-E. Capital X, lowercase o, capital X, lowercase o. I love you. JK, I hate you. JK. Are you ignoring me? We're in a huge fight right now. Is this something I did? I can see your lights on. I'm coming over. What'd you dream about? Me? I'm lonely. Holla back. Holla back. Let's try something new. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
The staff at the Ascension Parish Animal Control Center encourages all pet owners to please help control the pet population by having your pets spayed or neutered. Here's a look at just some of the animals currently available for adoption at Animal Control. Thanks for watching this edition of Inside Ascension. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, you can always reach us at insideascension@apgov.us. We welcome your comments and thank you very much for watching.
Now we'll leave you with Lil Anyap from the Ascension 21 archives. He's a musician who's played all over the world. He lives here in Gonzales and works for Ascension Parish government. Bluesman Larry Neal. So long, and please keep watching Ascension 21.